So after a week where we didn't get any new Amphibia releases, which I didn't know about ahead of time, because, and this is not a joke, I am just that pathetic, I don't actually know where people go to get news about their favorite shows anymore. Is it Reddit? Because I don't know how to Reddit. Is it Twitter? Because I don't do that either. Like most fandom news, I just sort of absorb it through osmosis on Tumblr. So I guess what I'm saying is if you guys have any suggestions for like fandom sites or whatever, let me know. Please. I'm feeling actually very old right now. Anyway, after that week off, we got 2 new episodes. Well, 1 new double episode this week, as per usual. And they were pretty good. They were, I think, they were called Little Frogtown and Hopping Mall, I think. I'm more sure about that first one than the second one. I could look. The titles are right there on my screen. But I want to play this one where it lands. And they were both pretty good. They were more of the fillery style episodes that we tend to get most of the time with Amphibia. And I didn't catch any, like, really blatant, like, specific lore world building in these, like I did in the previous one. Like, there's some stuff here that may end up tying into stuff later, but nothing I really feel like I need to comment on right now. Aside from the fact that Little Frogtown does, at the very least, confirm that frogs can move into Newtopia permanently and stay there permanently and actually make something of themselves. That the structure of the city, the financial structure of the city, isn't so strict, I guess is the right word, that it doesn't allow things like that to happen. I.e., it is not as if the system is so stacked against literally everyone that these, let's not kid ourselves, comparatively lower class people compared to Newts can't succeed here at all long term. And speaking of Little Frogtown, I enjoyed it a lot, but at the same time, aside from that, and like the gimmicks of the episode, there wasn't really anything super noteworthy about it. It was basically a noir homage, a noir mystery homage. Hop Pop effectively steps into the role of an old noir detective. I gotta say that the best part about this episode was hands down the stuff they did with him and his noir-style inner monologue. The jokes around that were fantastic. And then in that style, he investigates the supposed disappearance of a frog he used to know who moved to Newtopia to open up a sandwich shop, only to discover that that particular frog, whose name I cannot remember, but it's not important, did something that Hop Pop thought would have been unthinkable for him. He stopped marketing his sandwiches and focused on just marketing the sauce that he made for them because it was the most popular part, and that's how he was able to do well for himself. He has like factories now where he bottles the sauce and sells it on its own. Meanwhile, there's a plot with Anne and Polly and Sprig at an arcade, and Anne takes things a little too far and gets tased, and it was pretty funny. And the message of the episode ended up being that sometimes change is good. Sometimes the best thing you can do is embrace change, which might also tie into where this season is going if I'm right about where it's going, but that's kind of beside the point, because I'm still thinking that the season is going to round out to be more or less about how things in not just Newtopia, but all of Amphibia need to change, how there needs to be reform. And the message of embracing change would definitely be conducive to reaching that point, since, as I've mentioned previously, it seems like the Planter family, as a representative of like all frogs, don't really see the problem yet themselves, right? It was a good episode. I have a soft spot for noir-style mysteries, so I did enjoy it on like an aesthetic and gimmickry level, but there wasn't anything special about it. It was a fun, enjoyable segment of this double episode, this episode in 2 12-minute parts, but it didn't stand out aside from the gimmick. The second episode, though, did, and I didn't think it was going to at first. I'm actually not going to go into a lot of detail about this one, because I actually feel like this one is one worth watching. But I will say we're introduced to a new character. She's this, badass newt warrior woman, whose name I also don't remember. Jeez, where's my head today? But she was so designed, she was designed so well, her character design was so intricate and interesting, that I kind of get the sense we're going to bump into her again. She also makes friends with Anne. Well, Anne makes friends with her, I guess, technically. And I don't know, Anne has made friends with other characters since coming to Newtopia. But just between how over-designed this character was and the fact that she had a kid who also was very intricately designed and had a lot of personality, and the fact that the gesture that Anne made towards her was quite a large one, I get the sense that she's going to come back into the story later. I just feel it. Maybe I'll end up being wrong, but I certainly hope not, because she was interesting, and yet we didn't get a lot of her here. She's obviously tough, she's obviously proud, but in the end she proves to be a good person, and her interaction with Anne allows Anne to prove all over again that she is also, at her core, a good person. Even if she makes mistakes, even if she takes things too far sometimes, she is at her core a good person. Primarily the episode centers around a big action scene, which just happens to be the means by which Anne is trying to win a gift that she intends to give to her mother, if/when she ever gets home. But that's not what the episode ended up being about in the end. That's literally what it was about. Don't get me wrong, that was most of the episode. But it was the ending of this episode that made it so stand out. Anne has been talking about getting something for her mom this entire episode, and Sprig's been helping her. He even sacrifices a gift that he bought for someone in order to help her win this gift for her mother, only to reveal in the end that he never knew his mom. She died when he and Polly were so young that he doesn't even remember the sound of her voice. And I never had anything like that happen to me. Both of my parents are still alive, even if, in the case of my father, I kind of wish he wasn't. A lot of the time. I'm not going to get into that today, though. But just the way this scene was handled, particularly how they chose to focus on specific characters' facial expressions at specific times, how well they were animated, how well the voice acting was handled here. This episode really hit me. This was just such a good scene. And if you're someone who tends to skip the more fillery episodes or else just kind of glaze over them, I feel you would definitely be doing yourself a disservice by just kind of glossing over this scene. It was short and sweet and to the point, and yet it felt like something special, just due to how well it was handled. I liked it a lot. I won't say that these episodes overall, in terms of the entirety of what they were amazing or anything. They were pretty typical of Amphibia's general quality. But that scene was just so good. It was a great scene of bonding between Anne and Sprig. They were the only characters involved in the scene. I loved it a lot. We need more quality bonding scenes between them, because, it's obvious they're friends. They have a lot of friend chemistry, but, this show is a pretty solid drama show. I'd like to see them bond on a more dramatic level from time to time, right? And watching this scene, I definitely feel like the writers and the animators could handle that kind of thing very, very well, even if it was done much more often. And that's all I have to say about the episodes. I do want to talk to you guys about something else, though, while you're here. And please do not click off the video. It's very important to me that you guys hear this. This is going to be a little difficult for me to talk about, so I'm just going to power through, right? Sometimes the best way through is just straight through, right? So you may have noticed that in a week where there was no new Amphibia episode, I didn't get any content out for you guys at all, except for the gaming stuff that I pre-record in batches, and then don't really have to do a ton to edit. right? That's easy mode stuff. And I'm not making excuses, but I want to explain why that's the case. Okay, so I did have something planned. I didn't get super far into it, but it just wasn't coming together. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of what it was, because I plan to repurpose it for later. But the specifics aren't important anyway. I couldn't make it work. Even though there was nothing inherently wrong with it. There was nothing wrong with this piece of content, right? The issue is, I've got a lot of stuff going on right now. And everybody does. Don't get me wrong. Everybody does. But, like, I suffer from depression, which is hard for me to talk about. And between that and the fact that I have executive dysfunction as part of my ADHD, and the fact that, like, the world right now is anxiety-inducing, and all of those things have the symptom of not being able to get shit done when you need to, I'm just very frazzled lately, right? And the worst part of it is, and the reason why I haven't brought this up on the channel before, is I genuinely don't feel like my situation is bad enough that I deserve consideration for those things. And I know that's not true. I know everybody's needs are important, including my own. So what I am doing is I am reaching out to you guys. I am going to commit to getting content out more often again for you guys, because I love getting content out for you guys. Even if only 3 people watch it, even if only one of those people comments, I still love that. I love it. I love interacting with you guys. So I want to start getting more content out for you guys again, and what I'm going to do to try to facilitate that is I'm going to release a schedule, and not like the more specific weekly schedules that I was releasing for a while, but like a more general schedule that gives kind of an idea, an outline of when I'm going to drop certain degrees of content. And I want you guys to bug me about it, like kindly, right? Please. But I want you guys to bug me about it. If I say I'm going to drop a review of a series that I don't cover very often on like Monday the 27th or something, which I don't even know if there's a Monday the 27th anywhere coming up, if that's beside the point, and I don't drop it, I want you guys to call me out for it. Like, I'm not holding you guys responsible for my recovery or anything. I'm just saying it would help out a lot if you did. And on my end, I will try to get content out more often for you guys, more diverse content. I want to release more Stephen stuff. I want to release more reviews of Stephen comics. Because, I mean, that sounds fun to me, right? And I'm sure to you guys too. And more movie stuff, and I want to stream occasionally. Like maybe gaming stuff, maybe like reaction stuff, because you guys do seem to like when I react to stuff, like do reaction videos to stuff, right? But also on my end of things, if I'm having a particularly bad day on which I planned to start something like that or finish something like that, and I just can't do it, I'm going to start telling you guys. I'm not going to pretend like the problem doesn't exist anymore. I'm going to trust you guys to not judge me for feeling the way that I feel. If that makes sense. Okay, that was super hard to talk about. I'm going to move on. These episodes were good. All that stuff was super heavy. I need to pretend like I didn't say it for at least the next few minutes. This has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later.